Welcome to another episode of The Heart of CX. I'm Joanna Palmer, and with me is Max Ball. And Max, we've got a guest today. Would you like to introduce?
We do have a guest. This is becoming a trend, and I like it. I think we're going to be doing more of this. Today we have Vijai Shankar. He is from Uniphore, and they do AI for CX. And I was thinking, okay, this is a biggie. This is a big topic. So we're going to dig into this. And Vijay, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, talk a little bit about your background, and then we'll kind of get into we got some questions for you. I'll put it that way.
Sounds good, Max. Thanks, Max. Thanks, Joanna, for the opportunity to share some insights on AI and CX. As Max has introduced myself, I'm Vijai Shankar, Vice President Product Marketing at Uniphore. Uniphore is in the customer experience industry. So we have a conversational service automation platform, which we define it as the combination of conversational AI, RPA, and workflow automation to really drive what we call conversational experiences across the entire customer and agent journeys, and also drive automation across the entire customer lifecycle or the customer journey. So in essence, we believe that a better agent experience actually drives a better customer experience. And that's what we're truly focused on, is just to make people more efficient, really help automate and use AI in the way they have to be used, specifically to drive the next generation of experiences.
I think you'd be hard pressed to listen to one of these podcasts and not go more than 10 minutes without Joanna or I making the point about the agent experience driving the customer experience. So you right up our alley with that. So I think what would help, can you help us define some of the core terms here? We've got bots, we've got AI, we've got machine learning, we've got conversational AI. You mentioned RPA, ABC. Can you kind of line up the different terminology for us here a little bit? I think that would help ground everybody as we dig into this.
Yeah, that's a good question, Max. I think most often, myself included, sometimes we get down to the how. What I call by how is the technology. So AI is a how. Nobody goes and buys AI, right? We never go sell AI. We never go sell natural language understanding or natural language processing or natural language technology, whatever NLX term you want to use. We never go sell RPA, right? Those are all the underlying technologies. What companies sell, or what we truly talk about, are the solutions which use these technologies to deliver whatever they're trying to deliver. So I think bots could use AI. They can use natural language. They can use RPA. So I think they could be used across they can use all of these technologies to achieve whatever they're supposed to achieve. So which in essence is driving automation either in the back office, which means that RPA is a big factor there. It could be driving automation in the front office, which RPA is starting to get into the contact center world. It could be driving automation of self-service interactions, which means that you're using AI and natural language, or maybe just using natural language to drive an automation of a customer journey. Or it could be driving automation on the agent side of things. So I think you have the underlying technologies really looking to drive the automation and the experiences and just make everybody's life easier. I think we always say, right, just make my life easier. So that's what it is.
And I like that, make my life easier. And I think about some of those experiences I've had as a customer, and bots in particular, where it seems like the bot's not understanding me, much like, those IVRs, it wouldn't understand me back in the day as well. I saw your eye roll there, Max.
Yeah.
So tell us about the bots and the underlying technology there. Is that truly AI where you get served up an FAQ, or is that some other technology? And how would that be different if it were AI?
Good question, Joanna. So I think here's where I think you're going to start getting into the opinions of what I think truly is AI vis-a-vis not AI, right? I think a lot of the times people use the word AI. It's an overloaded term, just for lack of a better word. I think people sometimes use rules based and say it is AI, because AI. What does AI require? AI requires a lot of data. That's when the intelligence is applied on the data, and that's when you can truly predict what's going to happen, what's the customer intent or customer sentiment and emotion and so forth. So if I'm just going to go in and if I'm logging into my bank and then the bank obviously knows who I am, that's not AI. I think Max and I will probably go back 15 years back when we were marketing and Max was building IVR products, and we used to say, well, but the whatever that Max, what we used to call it, ANI, customer phone number. We used to say, oh, this is so and so customer, and it pops up. That's not AI. That's basically linking a customer with their unique identifier. So in the similar sense of bots, I think it's the same thing. It's all rules based. I think where AI can truly make a difference is as you start having enough information about your customer interactions, you apply the technologies to start predicting what I call what the customer is in for, and then make it more conversational. So moving beyond single response FAQs like, okay, where do I find the nearest ATM to, okay, I'm here to apply for a credit card, and then saying, okay, so what kind of credit card do you want? So I want to apply for a credit card that gives me points on American Airlines. Okay, so we have two credit cards that gives you points on American Airlines. Here are the City Aviator Red and Black, or whatever you want to call it, and then having the customer go through the entire conversation. So over here, what I'm saying, Joanna, is it's moving beyond just a single response to making it more transactional, understanding the intent of me as a customer, saying I want to apply for a card, trying to understand my intent, saying applying for a card which gives me points on American Airlines, and then offering me the right cards, and then making sure that you don't let go of the customer to make sure that you apply for the, making me apply for the card, and then complete the transaction. So that's where I think the bots can evolve to. It's moving beyond just single response, or as I say, chatbots can respond to moving beyond single response to more transactional, conversational, and that's where AI can truly come in to kind of drive that level of interaction and customer experience.
That makes sense. So beyond the bots, I know, one of the things I've seen a lot of products do is using AI or at least machine learning for routing intelligence.
Mhm.
People who say this sentence, I have a problem with my router. Oh, they need networking support. I'm interested in this computer. Oh, they want to buy whatever. So there's kind of that level. And then you start getting back into actually helping the agent, etc. So talk a little about beyond just the bots, where you see some of this intelligence happening and how AI plays there.
So great question. I'll kind of divide it into two parts, right? So Max, remember back in the day we used to talk about self-service to agent-assisted service, right? So you gather some of the
Oh, yeah.
information upfront to self-service, then you transfer it to the agent, and you present the agent saying, okay, here's Max Ball calling. He's a platinum customer, and then the agent fulfills the remaining part of the conversation. So, in the same thing, if I take it now to the bots and the chat bots with conversational AI or natural language, whatever you want to use it, is you can still do a couple of things. You can drive, the first aspect is if you think about your business, classify your business into the different journeys why customers are interacting with you. There are certain things you can completely handle by self-service. Fantastic. There are certain things you want to ideally it'll cross channels, what I call moving from self to assisted. So you can use the conversational AI to drive the initial part of the interaction, take it to the agent, and when you take it to the agent, the first thing what you do, if it's a voice agent, you pretty much just say, okay, here's Max Ball calling, and Max is very happy today. So now you're transferring not only the context of Max, but you're also transferring what I call the sentiment of Max in a particular conversation. It could be, oh, Max is very frustrated today. And so the agent gets an alert saying, hey, Max is frustrated. Make sure you be empathetic, find out what's the causing the frustration. So you're assisting the agent beyond just providing the screen pop back in the day, what we used to call screen pop or CTI, beyond just the agent and customer information to actually providing some insights into the customer sentiment and intent or emotion. So that's one way of using AI into the agent assist component of it. The second way, I think, which is very interesting, is a lot of people don't talk about this, is really, the agents are always spending a lot of time after calls summarizing the conversation, right? So we spend 10 minutes on a call. Our agent spends the next 3 minutes summarizing the conversation. If you think about our experiences today with agents, you hear them typing something in the background. And sometimes you hear them say, "Hey, I'm sorry, my machine is really slow today." Actually, I hear that 90% of my conversations. But then if you have conversational AI technologies in the back end, they can actually help summarize a conversation for the agent. So once the call ends, the agent basically gets a quick summary saying, "Hey, here is the summary of the call. Make some edits as you see fit." And then the agent can just upload that information directly. So you really help save the time required for the agents. What is actually, I think, what the industry term is called after call work. You're really helping automate the agent after call work. So in the process, you're making the agent more efficient, and you're also driving a better agent experience as a result of that. So that's another couple of interesting ways where we can look at AI really driving the agent assist component of it. First is during the call, making sure that they understand the customer sentiment. Then after the call, making sure that they get you're able to summarize the notes and everything else, and just make their life that much easier and that much more efficient.
That's interesting. So it's actually transcribing the call, putting that into whatever backend CRM or whatever, and the agent not having to write all that up. They're just tweaking the couple weird words that come out, because transcription's always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely spot on, right? So if you look at it, so if you look at a normal agent speaking, they don't have to worry about typing notes, and they're being very robotic with you, right? So you want to fly from San Francisco to New York. Which flight do you want to? It's like very robotic. You're talking to an agent. Whereas if you have this technology of AI running the backend to transcribe and take the notes automatically, then the agent doesn't have to be so robotic. They can be more conversational with the customer, and so long as they know the key things in the call, so that they don't have to depend 100% on the transcription. So that's a much effective way to drive a better agent experience, better agent performance, in turn driving a better customer experience.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And thinking about, we've talked a lot there about the employee experience and the customer experience, as well as just the operational efficiencies that we're adding into the contact center. And you touched on RPA as part of this as well. And so where does RPA come into play in this scenario?
And please, what are the 3 words behind RPA?
RPA, aka robotic process automation. Good question, Joanna. So I think RPA is not prevalent yet in the contact centers. I think that is something which will happen in the coming years or so. RPA, or robotic process automation, has been more prevalent in the back office side of things, back office automation. So using bots to basically automate back office processes like supply chain, billing, and just making sure bots are taking care of the automation. Now, fast forward into the contact center, there are a lot of things RPA, I think, can really help drive automation in the contact center. And in the process, you're actually controlling costs, you're driving a better agent experience, agent performance. So think about it as like, there's so many numerous examples, right? So a couple of examples I can think of at the top of my head are, number one is we call into our telecom providers. Telecom providers always have great experiences, as we always know. And you are trying to schedule as a technician to come and visit your home. So you think about your experience today. What happens? Agent says, "Okay, hang on. I'm going to go schedule, find out where my technician is." And in the process, they will say, "Oh, I'm sorry, my machine is very slow today. It's taking a lot of time." And then they finally open up saying, "Okay, technician, come between 1 and 5 p.m." And they're going through different screens, right? So what the agent is doing is they're going through different screens, different applications, and or different tabs, whatever you want to call it, or the system they're using. And then they're pulling out the information and then for scheduling the appointment, and then the appointment is scheduled. So there's a lot of process over here. Now, think about applying RPA over there. RPA can just directly go and, once the RPA recognizes with AI, it's able to recognize saying, "Okay, you want a technician to visit Max's house or Joanna's house." What does RPA do? It immediately goes and pulls up, instead of the agent having to go and pull out the different screens. The RPA bot could just pull out the screen in front of the agent, saying, "Okay, the technician is available." All the agent has to do is, "Okay, Joanna, the technician is available on Saturday between 1 and 5. Would you want the person to come in?" You'll say yes. So the RPA or the bot recognizes you have said yes, and it just schedules the appointment, and then you get a message saying, "Hey, this technician is coming on Saturday between 1 and 5," and everything is done. So you have just kind of really automated the whole process of backend. I think that's one interesting way we can use the bots for front office
Mhm.
automation. And you made the agent performance a lot better. Just like, they don't have to go through different screens. And in the process, you've actually improved the customer experience.
Yeah, and this is so exciting thinking about what's possible,
Yeah.
leveraging some of this new technology. I think one of the things, though, thinking about the resistance somewhat for adoption is just that these technologies are so new, and learning the critical concepts associated with each technology to really understand how we can apply it. And
Yeah.
so, for those people that are just starting out on learning about AI, learning about machine learning, learning about RPA, what would you recommend in terms of growing that knowledge?
Yeah, that's a great question. So again, I go back to, it's not about learning AI or RPA or NLT or whatever it is. It's about learning what are the applications I can get using these technologies. Because again, as I said earlier in our conversation, nobody goes and markets AI. Nobody should be marketing AI. So people should be marketing applications that solve genuine business problems. So I think what people should be looking at is, what are some of the new business problems which can make our life better. And I think
And
that's what it is.
ironically, I would say that right now today, people are marketing the heck out of AI, and
Yeah.
that's, to your point, totally the wrong discussion to be having.
Absolutely the
Yeah.
wrong discussion. I mean, who cares? I mean, AI has been around since 50 years, I think. But AI, so are you concerned about AI, or are you concerned about, hey, I can actually give you a solution that can predict your customer's sentiment and emotion. It can automate your agent performance, agent after call work, or agent. It can give you the agent's insights into how customers are feeling, so the response is a lot better. Or it could be that, hey, here I have another solution which is AI driven, which can recognize how to pull in specific applications in the front office. So you're just automating the process, reducing the hold times, call waiting times, and improving your customer experience. So that's the discussion we should be having, is how can we drive those kind of applications and those kind of solutions in the marketplace.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Very cool. What about this actually flows from this pretty well here. You hear about next best actions and things like that, and I guess that's kind of a flavor of process automation. And where does that fit, and how does that work with all of this?
So, this next best, I actually have a pet peeve of next best action. Right? Everybody talks about next best action. If I just if you go down on our websites and search for it, you'll find a bunch of companies talking about next best action. Right? I think next best action, I feel, is a little bit overloaded, because I think if you remember earlier in the conversation, we talked about I'm calling a bank and I'm very irritated, and with the tone of my voice, if AI is predicting that I'm irritated, and it lets the agent know that, hey, the customer is irritated, is that truly next best action? Yeah, it is, because it's telling the customer what to do. I actually call it, it's mostly just giving the customer, the agent, an alert in terms of what to do. I actually think, Max and Joanna, the sweet spot is next best recommendation. Now, as a result of what is happening in the conversation, say, example, if I'm applying for a home mortgage refinance, I'm speaking with an agent, and as part of my conversation, the agent is able, if you're able to recommend, saying, hey, instead of the customer, I know the customer has asked for a fixed 30-year loan, but here is an opportunity for you to basically lock the customer in a 7-1 arm or a 5-1 arm, which is a much better advantage for the customer. And in the process, you can sell them no appraisal fees. Now, those are the recommendations where you're actually pulling in the insights of the customer. So irrespective of no matter what the customer's asked for, you're actually recommending a better solution, a better product for the
Hmm.
customer. And in the process, you're driving a much better customer experience. So I think that's where the magic and the sweet sauce will eventually lie. And so companies which can get that kind of technologies or that kind of solutions built in, that's fantastic.
So it really becomes like recommendation, like a recommendation. And like when I go to Amazon and I buy something, it's like people
Yeah.
also bought. And
Yeah.
so it's a brilliant tool for upsell at that point.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, think about Amazon. Amazon has done a fantastic job in terms of some of the recommendations, right? Based on your browsing history, we think that you might be interested in this. Or people who have bought this also have bought this. You know, so it's crazy. But that's pretty much exactly what it is.
Can you utilize AI as part of that tuning mechanism to detect the customer sentiment and know when you need to back off as
Yeah.
well?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you've got this ecosystem, this AI ecosystem of helping the customer and also helping you as the company design that better customer experience.
Absolutely. That's exactly where AI comes into play, right? So knowing the sentiment of the customer. So do you really want to offer something when a customer is irritated? No. Like basically first solve the problem, and then I find out if the customer is happy that you solved the problem. If yes, then offer something as an added benefit. Now that would be a great way to kind of knowing when to offer and add the additional services and technology solutions what you need.
That's great.
Excellent.
You know, that's probably that's such a happy thought. I think that's a great place to wrap up.
I
Do you have any,
do.
BJ, you have any other like last thoughts or something we haven't hit that you'd like to talk about?
No, I think this is fantastic. I think we kind of covered all the different angles. I will only say one pet peeve is I think the topic around conversational AI. What does it cover? I think most often people think conversational AI is just purely chatbots and self-service, but I think it goes beyond. I think it goes beyond that. It goes beyond to just including agent-assisted component as well. It goes beyond potentially into analytics in the future. If you have AI on your analytics, so if you're trying to find out how customers are actually calling into your contact center, and then using AI and machine learning on the analytics component of it so that you can optimize your front end of the interactions into the future, that'll be a nice way to think about it. So I think, yeah, that's the only thing which I'll probably add is think about just not about in the moment of the customer interactions, but also how you can apply AI on the analytics piece, which happens after the fact.
Oh, that's fun. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Awesome.
Yeah, I
Well,
like that.
this has been a great conversation. I appreciate you dropping by, and thanks everybody for tuning in. And Joanna, I'm going to give you the last word.
Yes, thank you so much. I think that this was a critical conversation to have to understand more about AI, machine learning, RPA, making sense of this new alphabet soup that we have in front of us, and really the practical applications. And that it's really not necessarily about those underlying technologies, but the business problems that you're trying to solve and how to apply the various different technologies to solve those business problems. So thank you so much, Vijay, for stopping by. And thanks, Max, as well. We'll see everybody next time.
Yeah, thanks, Joanna. Thanks, Max, for the opportunity. It was a fun conversation. Just enjoyed sharing our experiences.
Thanks, guys, and thanks everybody for watching. Talk to you soon.